This is the first time the Play for Real podcast is streaming to YouTube. It's our second live stream ever. In fact, the podcast isn't even launched yet. This will be an episode in the podcast that is soon to be launched. And I'm here with a fascinating guest, Torah Bontrager, who I met at a recent camp. In fact, we just got home yesterday. We were 4 days in the Poconos, the mountains, with Yannick Silva and Camp Maverick, a bunch of high-level entrepreneurs doing some good stuff in the world. And I was fascinated by Tora's story. Tora escaped Amishism. At the age of 15, she left in the middle of the night. She actually sprayed the steps the night before with WD-40, trying to get them to not squeak. She got out and created a new life for herself. And she's on a mission with the Amish Heritage Foundation to overturn a Supreme Court ruling that says that religious parents can stop their kids being educated after grade 8. Welcome, Torah Bontrager.
Thanks so much for having me, David. Thank you. And I feel it's quite an honor to be the first on the podcast or the first live stream or whatever it is. So
You are.
thank you.
Yeah, that's right. And I decided this an hour before the podcast. I'm like, let me just find out how all this stuff works.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so far, so good. So our topic today is how to thrive in business or your career, how to thrive in life, how to fulfill your mission when you're struggling with health issues and energy issues. And I'm fascinated by this topic because I've had this for the last 12 years and I haven't really talked about it publicly. And I know you have, so I want to find out about your story. Maybe we can discuss a little back and forth about what it's like and tips and tricks of what we're doing to thrive and even cope sometimes with some kind of illness or energy issues. So I'd love to know, what are you dealing with? What are the actual symptoms that you have on a daily basis?
It's PTSD, post-traumatic stress from early childhood abuse, extreme early childhood abuse. And so when I was around early 30s, my body just broke down. My physical body broke down. I call it a body, physical, mental, not instead of mental breakdown, it's a physical breakdown. And I was in bed about 20 hours out of the day, something like that for about a year. And then it
Wow.
got a little bit less, but still not a whole lot so that's the
And
short
how old were
version.
you? How old were you then?
I was 32 when it started.
So
Yeah.
20 hours a day in bed
Yeah.
sounds pretty extreme. You're up for 4 hours, and the diagnosis was you've got PTSD and your body's just shutting down.
I didn't get that diagnosis until 2015 when I was 35. Or
Wow.
actually it was 2016, right after New Year's. And then I found my ketamine doctor. I was at the edge of where I thought I had tried everything for, 3-4 years, whatever that was. And I just thought there's no point in suffering. I'm here, I am in bed, or I can't really accomplish anything physically. And my brain is alive and functional and like just whooshing, going at this crazy rate, but I can't follow up on it. And there's no sense in suffering. And I thought, there's nothing left except to kill myself. And it wasn't because it wasn't like I don't have anything against suicide. I'll just, full disclosure, if it's for the right reasons.
Same here. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you so you were suicidal. You were suicidal too back before 15. You actually put a gun to your head and
Hmm.
considered ending it then. And then
Hmm.
at age 32 you had this 20 hours a day in bed, and
Hmm.
then later I'm interested in that later you got the PTSD diagnosis,
Hmm.
because I don't have it. I've had fatigue for 12 years, and
Wow. Yeah.
it's not my body, it's my head.
Ah.
My head gets kind of like, just like I'm tired, but I can't lay down and rest. And no one's called it PTSD, but I do also have a PTSD diagnosis from presumably from watching my little sister get killed, hit by a bus. You know,
Wow. Yeah.
that would kind of do it.
Yeah.
So you got the diagnosis later. So I'm thinking, well, there's hope for me. Maybe someone else is going to come up with, you've got
Yeah.
this. And then it
Yeah.
was what happened with the ketamine. Was it legal in the state where you tried it? And um, what did that do for you?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed with PTSD when I was 29. This was before I had my breakdown, because that was the age I was when I finally started going into therapy to deal with the childhood traumas, what had happened
Okay.
to cause the PTSD. I didn't, but I was not aware I had PTSD. So by the time I get to 32, that's when I have that physical crash. And then by the time I'm, about 35, I find the ketamine doctor. And yes, ketamine infusions, if administered by a licensed doctor, is legal in all 50 states. So it's an anesthetic. It's just administered as an IV at a different rate. So it is legal in a clinical license MD setting.
Right.
And fortunately, still legal, although do some research to find out about the latest FDA approvals. That's a different topic that people can
Right.
go into on their own. So this was my doctor, Dr. Brooks. He's in Lower Manhattan. I call him the godfather of ketamine infusions for PTSD and other extreme traumas or illnesses, including I believe you can use that for chronic pain as well. So maybe it's worth looking into, David, to see if it would, if you
Oh,
fit the profile for that.
I'm inspired to
Yeah.
call. I've got someone in my phone ready on speed dial, and I've been meaning to go and do the ketamine sessions.
Oh, you have?
And
Oh, good.
yeah, and
Okay.
I think after this call, after this interview, I'm just going to call up and book a
Mm-hmm.
session because
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready. So I'm inspired.
Awesome.
So what did the
Good.
sessions do for you? Did you get any relief from so
Yeah.
many hours a day in bed?
So what happened? Well, at that point, I was up, more. It was, probably more like 16 hours in bed or something. I don't know.
Right.
And yes, so I did not feel that the first session made any difference at all. And my doctor told me that he made me promise, no matter whether I feel it made a difference or not, I would come back for a second session, because the second session is where you get the definitive answer whether or not it's going to work for your body chemistry
Oh,
or whatever.
I've heard it generally takes about 5 or 6 sessions to reset something in the brain that I forget the name of the system in the brain.
Yeah,
And
I don't agree with that, just because this is what my doctor says. Like, his protocol is 2 sessions. It's not worth pursuing after the second session if you do not feel it made any difference at all.
that
And
makes sense.
he's treated more than the top 3 clinics combined, or did, at least as of like about a year ago.
Okay, right. So
Yeah.
so I feel like you're teasing me now because I want to know, what did you get out of it? What happened?
I came back the second day, and I told my doctor, no, didn't feel anything, nothing happened. But I did, for one moment, feel the loops. So what happened was that I got into a 24-hour flashback looping thing, where the PTSD just I got re-traumatized because of some of the things I was doing, like writing my memoir and trying to get justice, dealing with a detective that was a crook, that turned out to be a crook, which is another thing, but who re-traumatized me. And so it ended up just reactivating the PTSD on such a level, spiking it to such a level where I was seeing these rape scenes 24/7. And
Flashbacks. Wow.
yeah,
And
so
you said rape scenes. So were you raped as
yeah,
a child? Is that part of the PTSD?
those 2 uncles, if whoever's watching this, if you see the earlier episode I did with you, David, those 2 uncles who helped me, the Wisconsin and Montana uncle, raped me repeatedly for the first year that I was
My
out.
Wow. Okay. So
Yeah,
there are
yeah,
number of reactions to that, but
yeah.
first
So
is
we can
how did
we
I
can move forward.
well
I know,
if you
know you don't
take
have much time. I'm
no
luckily I can, laugh through. I'm not laughing, but it's not triggering me.
well can we
So it's
can,
yeah,
can we slow down a little?
yeah, sure, yeah.
So, firstly, I'm thinking, how did I miss that in the first episode? Because your story, for people who haven't watched it, was of escaping in the night at the age of 15, and two uncles were like your salvation. That was the story arc that I was getting. They helped you get out.
hmm
You're saying both of them raped you?
The Montana uncle, within 3 weeks, less than a month, he was raping me repeatedly, and to this day, I don't know how often. I mean, it could have been hundreds of times, and I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I don't need to know, and I don't want to know. It's not relevant. It
Right,
was just that often. And then and I was alone in his house. He was divorced in the middle of, like,
right.
Montana.
And
Um,
the other uncle as
yeah,
well?
yeah. So what happened is I figured out how to escape from the Montana uncle. I went to the Wisconsin uncle, and the Montana uncle threatened me with death after the first time it happened. So that's why I
Wow.
had to figure out how to escape from him without him thinking I would report him. And so I went to the Wisconsin uncle, and the first time his wife went on an overnight business trip, he did the same thing. And at that point, I was just like, "This is just what uncles do." And I was in a very difficult position because um, I, if I quit going to school, I would lose my emancipation privileges. So I got emancipated at 16, which allowed me all the rights as an 18-year-old. So I did not get sent back to my parents. But if I was not in school, then those rights would be revoked. And there's a whole bunch of things that went through my head. One of which was, if I report the Wisconsin uncle, then the Montana uncle will kill me. So ultimately, through all the lists of reasons why I didn't speak out, it was the fear of getting killed at the end.
Well, that would do it.
Yeah.
So, wow. So that changes the whole story arc for me. That you escaped into this brave new world, and then you were
Yeah.
raped. I mean,
Yeah.
this makes it such an incredible story of survival. And then, so I'm gonna have this cut and pasted into the earlier interview because this is a huge part of that story.
hmm
And then you escaped from that uncle. I mean, did things get better? Was there a rainbow at the end of this incredible journey?
well, there's a rainbow now. So things got better. Yeah, I mean, there was a trajectory upward, but a very, very, very tough trajectory upward. And it wasn't until after I graduated from Columbia University, and then started going to therapy for the childhood trauma, for the rape, for all the other things. Everything else as a child, I wasn't raped, but I was molested by school kids and so forth. So that none of that stuff was addressed until age 29 onward. So I would say the rainbow came after, through that process of several years of personal growth and alternative therapies, including psychedelics, plant medicine, and that, now I see, I can see the rainbow.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that gives me a thank you. It gives me a broader picture. So you were basically molested and raped, and then at age 29, you were diagnosed with PTSD. At age 32, you're spending 20 hours a day in bed, and you've done years of therapy. And then how old are you now?
I am 39, and next week, I believe, is my 39th birthday.
Wow. And would you say, was it just recently, like in the last year, that you feel like things have started to come good? Or was it, I'm trying to get the timeline.
Yeah.
Was it like at age 32, 33? Can you pinpoint it?
Yeah, I would say it was age 29 onward, but then there was this very, very dark period when I was, 32 through 35, 36. Even it wasn't until I was 37 that I started feeling like, oh, I'm starting to get back to my normal operating capacity consistently. Like it wasn't the
Wow.
up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. So,
Yeah.
the ketamine infusions, definitely, that was the turning point where I got back for the first time. Like I felt that there is love in the universe after all, when it was just solid darkness for 3 years or more. And so, but it was, a constant up and down, up and down, up and down. And I kind of like explain it. The ketamine is like putting fueling up the car, but it's been so dry, it's run dry that it has to go through the entire system before it can even, there's even enough
Yeah.
to, yeah.
Well, I want to share impact of that. I felt some sadness
Mm.
when you said that there is love in the universe, and I feel sorry and sad that you had to go for so long not feeling that. And at the same time, I feel acknowledgement, and I acknowledge you. You are a true survivor. It's a bit of a miracle, I think, that you're still here with us on the planet, and I see your courage in that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. It was, I definitely feel if anyone who's listening and thinks that they're at the end of the road, take a look at, ketamine. And New York, nyketamine.com is my doctor's site, Dr. Brooks. He just tell him Torah sent you, and he gets it, unless you have somebody else that but he's definitely a
Yeah.
safe person to go to.
And
And it might not be for you, but try it before you think it's the end.
and what about now, day to day? So things are better,
Hmm.
but when I asked you what is it that you don't want people to know about you, was that was the question, right?
Yes, yes, it was.
And
Uh,
you said, I feel like a failure a lot. I intellectually know I'm not a failure, but I feel like a failure a lot. My physical health is compromised, and I struggle on a daily basis, frustrated that I can't produce like I used to before my body broke down. So, can you give us a sense of just what it's like daily? Do you have to lay down a lot? What does the struggle look like?
yeah, I think it's. Um, I I'm trying to think of how to say this. So give me a couple seconds here. I'll start with saying that I was a lot more hopeless feeling until a week or maybe 2 weeks ago, when I went back to a doctor that I had seen a couple years ago. He does like a combination of acupuncture and chiropractic and something called NAET, NAET. And I told him I can't focus. So that was what I was really struggling with for a good part of this year, where I just cannot focus. I'm sitting in front of the computer and I can't do anything. And I told him that. And so he does this whatever little treatment thing it is. And he said that you don't have the receptor for vitamin D, whatever, but that receptor is blocked. So I thought, oh, that makes complete sense. I'm eating well, I'm taking my vitamins and so forth, but if the receptor is blocked, then yeah, it doesn't matter how well you eat. It's not going to make a difference.
Well, can you take us, like, can we jump from there to the
Hmm.
mechanics of why or why not it might be happening to what
Hmm.
it feels like? I want to know what your day looks like. Where's the struggle?
It's getting up in the morning, getting started in the morning, feeling like I haven't had enough sleep, even though technically I have. And I can't start my day without a bunch of coffee. I mean, I'm completely useless without it, and not much better use with it.
Yeah.
I uh, I don't have any appetite at all. Haven't had any appetite for 4 years. I don't know why that is. So I have to force feed myself. I feel like I have to force feed myself. And what happens is a lot of times that I'm not, because I'm not hungry, then I'm not eating often enough. And I feel like it's kind of like this vicious cycle where my body is in starvation mode. It hangs on to all the fat because it thinks it's starving. And then I hate my body because I can't lose the weight. But then, I'm so stressed out because I'm so behind on so much work. I mean, like I think back 7 years ago, like where I couldn't do much work at all, and I have all these years to catch up with. So it's like this overwhelm, and it's a very sort of self-sabotaging loop that I'm in. And then I have resentment because why do I have to feed myself or force that? Or why can I not focus? Although that is changing a little bit. I'm very excited about that. I feel like that might be a big change coming now that we figured out the receptor thing. But yeah, and I think that a missing ingredient, definitely a big missing ingredient for me, is having people around me. So because I had such severe health issues, I drained all my, between that and the nonprofit, all my savings are drained. So I am now like struggling with like trying not to worry financially. And I know that I have a very limited time span left, and it's either make the nonprofit fly or go take a job with one of my friends, and I don't want that. So it's like all these things.
All right, let me check. I got this. What I'm hearing is that you feel like you don't have enough sleep when you woke up. So I imagine you're tired. You don't have an appetite. That could be worrying in itself. Just like, why don't I have an appetite? And I have to force feed myself. Having issues with focus. And then you've got, in the world of time and space and 3D reality, there are financial issues. There's you started a nonprofit to overturn a Supreme Court ruling, which seems like a pretty huge undertaking for anybody. But for you, it seems incredible that like I imagine after everything you've been through and what you're facing, just having a job and getting through the day could be a challenge. But you've taken on so much, so I'm surprised by that. That there's such struggle and yet taking on such a big thing. To me, you seem like Wonder Woman.
Wow, really, David?
Yeah. Yeah, I know what it's like to just get through a day. I know what it's like to think even an email's too much. I don't even want to do an email. I don't want to talk to anyone on the phone. I've had a lot of depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
And yet here I am with this business and podcast and speaking at this recent event. I feel like there should be a club for those of us who are we're actually producing, we're actually doing something in the world. But even simple things are sometimes very hard. I'm constantly, I might have two lay down twice during the day at the Maverick camp. I got up one morning, I went to breakfast, and someone said, "Oh, I'm going to have a sleep in," and I was like, "I think I'm going back to bed."
Yeah.
And no reason for it. I'm going to bed by 11 or 12, and I'm not drinking a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think you're a trooper, and I see it's incredible that you're taking on something so big, given that your body's like, nah, I'm not having any of that.
Well, I mean, my body is way better than it was. I'm not in the 20-hour kind of flat on my back kind of thing anymore.
Yeah.
Like
But
what it
still,
is.
just feeling tired each day, and then the loss of appetite, and that not being able to focus. That's a real challenge.
I mean, thanks for pointing it out that it is a big deal. because I'm really hard on myself, or really like I and you get it, and anyone who's a high achiever, whatever, like we really we have that tendency to be very hard on ourselves. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I did is a review of what I got done with a nonprofit in less than a year. And I was shocked, actually. And if I listed all of it, and I would be surprised again, it's like, how on earth did I do all of that?
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think, so I don't know, like, do you have a practice or anything? Maybe this is something we should figure out for ourselves, is what do we need to do to stop beating ourselves up? And
Yeah.
is there like a specific practice to those of us in this situation that it can help us?
Yeah.
Because there's general rituals or general morning singies or whatever, but is there maybe a practice for us?
Yeah, so I really am interested in a club, because I'm wondering how many
Yeah.
people out there
Yeah.
are dealing with health issues. I mean, some people are dying with cancer and still running a business, I'm sure. There are all
Yeah.
sorts of different disabilities. What I have, I mean, yeah, technically, severe depression can be diagnosed as a disability, but these invisible disabilities are very tricky. I've been learning about that. People who've lost their legs, people can see that and they make accommodation for it. But people who are just tired and not eating and lack of focus and just struggling to get through the day, like chronic fatigue, people don't see that. So it's kind of like, where am I in the world?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad to have a chance to talk about this, because I don't think I've spoken about it publicly. I wake up and I'm often tired. I just start the day tired. Today, I've had 3 or 4 good hours. I'm doing great. I'm feeling a little bit tired now. No big deal. But there are times, like, I make an appointment with someone. We're going to hang out at 6 o'clock. I might feel like crap when it comes to 6 o'clock. And the best thing I can do sometimes is cancel.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's really
Yeah.
awkward that I have to do that. Now, business meetings, I'll show up no matter how much I'm feeling. I'll do a podcast interview. I don't think I've had to cancel any of those yet, because things haven't been too bad. But what some people take for granted, like going away, I'm going to go to a prison on Monday night. We're going to drive 4 hours. We're going to be at the prison for 8 hours, maybe more during the day. Going to stay at an Airbnb. That's hard for me to be away from home, because I might feel exhausted and like I can't even cope.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now you
Yeah.
mentioned coffee. Yeah, I was using caffeine a little bit, but then I was finding I was crashing after the coffee. So I'm on an experiment now. I've had a weak cup of tea today, and I might get a second weak cup of tea. So and I have a prescription for Adderall, but I realized I'm kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul, in
Yeah.
that it's going to whack me at some point. So it's more of a hack if I
Yeah.
needed to get through a day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd love, maybe we could even create a Facebook group for people who really have things they want to produce. They want to
Yeah.
create, they want to thrive, they've got a mission, or maybe they want to have a mission, and they're just, their body is like not doing what other bodies do.
I would love that. I would love that. And that is really, I mean, that's perfectly aligned with what I was attempting to do anyway a couple of years ago, before I got pivoted into the nonprofit. So it's really, I was looking for entrepreneurs who are dealing with trauma in their lives. And
Great, yeah. Entrepreneurs, leaders,
yeah, yeah,
activists.
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
listeners, if you like the sound of this, if you'd want to be part of a Facebook group about that, where we just share our experiences, perhaps that would be one thing. I'd like a place where it could just be witnessed without
Yeah,
any advice, just witnessed and some empathy.
yeah,
And then, a place where we could request tips and tricks and whatever, where people would say, yeah, here's what you could do. There might be something like that already. So let us know if you know about something like that, or if you want us to create it.
that'd be so awesome.
Sweet.
So David, if you don't mind sharing, are there a couple things that have made a difference for you, or like even little things, even if they were temporary, can be something that just takes you to the
Right.
next leg, you
Well,
know?
well, I'll give a quick outline of all the things I've tried. I mean, I do some yoga for myself because I get really tight in the neck and shoulders, and that's part of
Hmm.
my system being a bit wired, even though I'm tired. So
Hmm.
yoga and stretches really help. I use one of those rubber balls to it changes my body. Hot showers are one of my favorite thing in the world. It kind of helps me change my state. I'm doing I do a lot of well, I do more breathing than most people do. I'll do breath in for 5 seconds, hold it for 5 seconds, let it out over 5 seconds, and then hold it with no air in my lungs for 5 seconds. And I'll just do that while I'm driving.
Hmm.
I do a
Hmm.
meditation each day. I lay down. I try and sleep. I kind of want to sleep all the time, and I almost never do, but I go into a trance now. I've learned to relax my body. Even in the airport, I once did it and found I had a line of people going 2 feet from my body, and I was still in trance, resting and recovering in 20 minutes. I can do that now listening to like hypnosis. It doesn't matter what the hypnosis tape is. I've got
Yeah.
one that's about fear of the dentist because I had fear of the dentist.
Hmm.
And I listen to that, puts me into a trance, and then I ignore the rest. I've been doing that almost every day for 10 years now.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
That really helps. Nutrition. I just done the Wild Fit program by Mind Valley and Eric Ed Meads, and I do not eat sugar now. I rarely
Hmm.
eat
Hmm.
grains. I don't,
Hmm.
I avoid dairy, and I don't do processed stuff. So my
Yeah.
whole nutrition has been revamped. Is it helping? I don't know. I'm not as bad as I used to be, so maybe it's helping. And medication. I'll use like when I'm at the end of my rope and desperate, I will use medication if it's going
Yeah.
to have me feel better. So I've explored a lot of medication. I'm taking some right now daily. I'm taking gabapentin 3 times a day, and that is helping a lot. And I
Hmm.
still hold out the hope that there'll be a day that comes where I don't need anything.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, I'll take what I can get.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a lot of answers, but I've tried a lot. Oh, limbic connection. I just got a puppy.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just got a puppy. Let's see if she
Yeah.
come in. Let's see if we can get her in here. Come, Papa. Sometimes she comes, sometimes she doesn't. I tell you, I had tears in my eyes this morning just looking at her in the garden.
Oh.
And
Oh.
this is scientific. Like I need limbic
Yeah. Yeah.
connection to
Hmm.
to be whole and well.
Hmm.
So I've got that. I've created a community of friends. I've gone and moved to Boulder, where I
Hmm.
have really good friends
Hmm.
and people who I can have touch with. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I just found a friend recently, and she said I have a high value on touch. I said so do I, and so platonically we just
Hmm.
cuddled.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I tell you what, really should do a whole episode on this because there's so many modalities that I'm trying and bringing into my life
Yeah.
to support my wellness.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up the puppy thing because I forgot about that. I got two parakeets at one point, before I knew about ketamine. That was sort of like the final step. I thought, okay, I'll try and see if that makes a difference. And yeah, it definitely makes a huge difference. And then what happened is both of them just died mysteriously last year, and
Oh,
it was so hard. Like I cried, like they were my children. I had no idea how attached I'd gotten to them, and now I'm afraid of getting more parakeets because I'm afraid they'll just die again. And it was so hard to, and yet I'm like I want a little puppy or I want something, and the challenge is how do I incorporate that in my life because for myself, I can't stand the thought of what happens if I travel and I can't take my little puppy with me. And I don't trust it in the care of anyone else because of how I was treated as a child. So I just
Right.
cannot. Yeah. So there's all.
Wait, you
these
wait,
things.
you have a puppy and you can't
No,
travel with it, or you
I
don't want to
want a
get one?
puppy. Yeah, but I don't
Oh,
want to get one because I'm not going to be able to travel with it all the time. Then I would have to figure out,
right. Well,
where.
I'll tell you how I've handled that.
Hmm.
My plan is to travel, like get a small dog.
Hmm.
That's what I tried to do. She's growing faster than I expected. I'm like, please stay small, because if she fits under the plane seat,
Hmm.
this dog is an emotional support animal,
Hmm.
and she can travel with me for free on planes. So my plan is basically to take.
Oh.
I even take her into restaurants in a little carry case. No one cares because
Hmm.
she's in a carrying case and she's
Yeah.
fine if I give her something.
Yeah.
So on my plan, I take her to parties. I take her to dance and tie her up outside. And this camp, they said no dogs, and I got a house sitter
Hmm.
who loves my puppy, and she came and just
Yeah.
gave us some love. So there's
Yeah.
possibility. All right,
Yeah.
I want to wrap this up by saying thank you. I love that we got to dive into this topic. It's very
Yeah.
personal for me, and I'm really appreciating your authenticity and transparency and your courage and being willing to like share your whole story. Be a lot of people who have anything even approaching that and don't want people to know about it.
Yeah.
And the play for real message is really about transparency. Let it be healed in the light.
Hmm.
Now I'm sounding religious, which I'm not, but like let it be seen so that we can see ourselves.
Yeah.
Now, where can people find out more about you? I know that you are doing a tour. You're raising funds for your nonprofit to help. Um, let's see if I get it right. To help overturn the Supreme Court ruling so that children have a right and access to education. That's
Yes.
not going to be cut off at grade 8. They can actually get educated, not be forced into being farmers and housewives because they're
Yeah.
part of a religion. So it's about freedom. Where can people donate or find out more about you?
You can go to amishheritage.org/tour if you want to find out about the tour and the overturning plan, or /donate if you just want to donate something right away.
Wonderful. And guys, if you want to find out more about Play for Real, you can request a 5-minute life assessment at playforreal.life, Life, playforreal.life, and you can request a session with me too. I can't say yes to everybody, but if you apply and you meet the criteria, I don't charge you for the session. It's how I find the right long-term clients to work with. Torah
Oh,
Bontrager. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a quick question. I forgot about the copy of my memoir. If anyone wants a copy, you can go to amishheritage.org/David Wood, and you can download any digital format. So,
Fantastic.
yeah,
Torah
that's.
Bontrager, thank you so much.
Thank you. Are we done?